Hi everybody, and thank you very much for joining me. Like I mentioned on the last video, I've been recommended to watch Casper Hejlesen, or that's how you spell his last name, but I don't know how you pronounce it, so my apologies Casper, I'm ruining your last name. So I was recommended to check out this guitar player from Denmark, Casper. Blew my mind, as I think I mentioned on the last video. Key of E flat, this guy is just improvising for, I think it's less than 2 minutes, and just the beautiful, beautiful half-step rubs and possibilities that I guess only exist in E flat. Every key has its possibilities, but E flat, I initially thought, what a horrible key. I think I called it the key of perverts and freaks. But having learned the piece, yeah, wow, it's opening up lots of possibilities. I still don't like the key, but you can only get certain things out of a particular key. And so if I try to improvise in that key, I'm lost at sea, I'm rubbish. I'm going for the 4 chord and it's accidentally a fret or whatever too high or too low. Had you heard the outtakes of this, it was a joke. However, I've persevered over the days and kind of learned the piece. I've only learned half, maybe 3/4 of what he put out, because it's just an improvisation for him, and I wanted to make it more than that. I wanted to add whatever I needed to add to make it a piece, a song. So I've added stuff, and a bit of me and a bit of somebody else who will tell you who it is at the end. You'll never guess who I've added into the mix, but lovely stuff. So this guy's from Denmark. There's a link to the video that inspired me in the description of my video. I'll let you see me break it down in a minute to show you what I've actually learned from this guy. I tried the piece on every single guitar because I always pick up the Jazzmaster or the Telecaster, and so I tried it. Initially I wanted to try it on this beautiful thing, my beautiful R9 that I love so much, because the clean tone on the neck pickup is a new discovery for me. It's to die for. I just love it. But it's a more beefy guitar to get my hand around the neck, and I was making an arse of it. And I kept looking, I tried every single guitar, and every guitar brought something. I didn't like the Junior on it. I liked the Gretsch, strangely, that felt easy. It has to be a guitar that I could physically get my hand round and not fluff the notes. So some guitars, it was just difficult. The R9, strangely, it was difficult to be so articulate. And I just kept trying all the guitars, and I knew eventually when you land on the Telecaster, there's no going back from a Telecaster. When you try something on a Telecaster, it's just right. Especially this kind of thing. The Telecaster has a narrower nut, I think. I don't have big hands, so I was avoiding touching the Tele, and I just knew as soon as I played it on the Tele, that was going to be what won the day. So here we go now into the breakdown. I don't go into too much detail, but you'll see I'm breaking down a little bit of what I think Casper does. Apologies, Casper, I'm sure you'll see things and you think, what are you doing, mate? But I just added bits of me. If there's something you've done that's too complex for me to follow, I'll just cheat. And then you'll see where I break off from Casper and bring in other things. Let's get on with the breakdown. Hope you enjoy it. So before we get into all the half-step rub stuff, simplify this, right? A lot of it is just the 1, the 4 and the 5 with some extra supporting chords thrown in along the way. But it's the inversions and the way he expresses the chords. So basically our one chord is our E flat. I'll talk about the 1 chord a lot. I'll talk about the 4 chord, which is an A flat or a G sharp, but he reserves the right to play that in a more major 7 version. So there's the main 4 chord, but he'll sometimes make it a major 7 voicing, like this. And then the 5 chord, which will reserve the right to play as maybe a suspended 4th sound at certain points. There'll be a G minor involved at some point, an F minor involved. There'll even be a C minor 9, I think they call it. But it's mainly 1, 4, 5 with supporting chords. Watch this. So all that is going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, but the 4 chord, he's expressing it as a major 7. Now here's what he's actually doing. This is just wonderful. How nice is that? So it's almost like a little major scale of E flat. I'm thinking that shape, that's what my brain's doing. I'm thinking that shape in my brain. I'm holding that down with my brain, but not my hand, just with my brain. So that's an open G string, fretted A string, fretted D string, and then an open G. And when I play the G, I think I take my hand off the board so that I can hammer that on. And then I get that half step rub. These 2 are just floating. That's what's really being played, the 4th fret of the B string. Hand off, hammer on, fret the 4th of the B. And you've got that half step rub hanging in the air. Big stretch. That's the 4 chord, but it's the major 7 version of the 4 chord, which is A flat. And I think that chord, I play this all the time, I don't know what it's called. I worked it out a minute ago. I think I'm going to call it a C minor 9. The full chord would be your C note, 1st fret of your D string, and the 3rd fret of your B and G and B strings. But I'm actually not playing the D string, I'm just muffing that out with the flesh of my middle finger. So I'm just getting, just playing all 3rd fret stuff, but make sure you don't let that open D come out. So that's your C minor 9. I've now gone to the 4 chord, which is A flat, but again I'm playing it in a more of a major 7-y sound. That would be it unless if I made, that's the proper sound, but I'm playing it as, or he's playing it like that. So it's the 4th fret of the E, the 3rd of the A, and the open G, hanging in the air again. And then watch what he does to it now. He's now got a cross between, a half step rub between the main chord and the major 7 version. So I'm thinking just major, but when you play that open G string, it's become major 7 again. It's a lovely half step rub. You see what I'm doing? This is just floating this ring finger. I'm fretting the D string on the 6th fret and an open G. Then things get complicated. I flatten this finger to catch the 3rd fret of the D string, and then immediately bounce to the 6th fret of the E and A strings, and play an open D string for another half step rub. Whoops. Yeah, bloody hell. So I'm on the 5 chord, but it's a suspended 4th sound. And then that was the 1 chord, walking up the 1 chord to the 4 chord. Beautiful way to play the 4 chord. In other words, just the A flat. 11th, what's that? The 11th fret of the thin E string, the 9th fret of the B, and the 8th of the thick E. Then coming down a semitone with the pinky, but a whole tone with the 1st finger. Big stretch, not comfortable. So that is me going to a G minor chord. So now I've left the 1-4-5 type of thing. Then from a G minor, taking that shape, you can see what I'm fretting there, down a tone to an F minor, back to the 1 chord. My ring finger is just floating. Up to the 1 chord. That's just the 1 chord. To the 4 chord. See what I'm doing there? That's just the 4 chord. Down to the 5 chord, but suspended 4th sound. So in other words, I'm on the B flat, which is your 5 chord. So I'm playing 4th of the B, 6th of the D, and 6th of the E. Not playing the A string, I'm letting the open G come out. So your ear's bouncing up and down, it screws with your brain. Notes that should go up in value go down in value. That's what happens when you fret high up the neck or higher up the neck with open strings. And then he drops this 1st finger to unsuspend the sound. That's suspended 4th, and that's it not suspended. Then he breaks back to 1, just walking up the 1. To the 5 chord. Down to the 4 chord. Then the 1 chord. Up to the 5 chord. That's just the 1 chord there, played in that sort of sound. Up to the 5 chord, same shape, but it's the 5 chord, down to the 4 chord. But he's making it the major 7 version of the 4 chord. Beautiful. I'm just playing the 11th fret of the A and the thin E strings and catching the 8th fret of the B string to make it that major 7th sound. Back to the 1. Whoa, gee whiz, Paul. That would be an F minor. 13th fret of the E string and the thick E and the G string. I'm catching the 10th fret of the D string. I'm not playing the A string. Then I'm walking down with my first finger, my middle finger, sorry, down to the 5 chord. So this is floating. I'm playing the 10th of the thick E and the G and catching the 8th of the D. And now this is where I left Casper behind, and I go on my own little way. I play the 1 chord. To the 4 chord. Then I start copying Casper's concept by playing half-step rubs. So I'm playing the 1 note, the 5 note, the major 3rd, and then I'm playing an open D. Look at my right hand. Then I'm fretting the 5 chord. That's me copying the concept of Casper. So my 5 chord is the B flat. I'm just going. Fretted 6th string on the E string, fretted 3rd fret of the A string, open D, just a major scale so far, fretted 3rd fret of the D string, fretted 6th fret of the D string, and resolved to the 3rd fret of the G. Then an open B string gives a half-step rub. Then chromatics. I hope Casper would approve of that. And then I stole from, you'll never believe it, Albert Lee. 3 decades ago he recorded a wonderful album called Speechless. Great name for an instrumental album. And the last track was a track called Erin, and it's just Albert playing the piano. But he plays it so beautifully. He wrote it, it's just, I don't know how it's not become bigger. And I just stole from that, or chunks of it, and it's just walking around the 1, 4 and 5, throwing a minor or two. All that kind of stuff. But I'm kind of playing it like he played it on the piano, sort of copying bits. And then I went into other bits that are completely me. And throughout all of the whole thing, I've put little bits of me in it as well. So I'll not bother going into all of the Albert Lee stuff, but I hope you liked that. It was one of the hardest things. I thought I was going to take about 104 takes to get that right. I actually only took 5 takes, which I'm shocked at. I really was settling down for a long day, and I wouldn't release it unless, I mean, there's a couple of wee dings in the track that I was playing. Not bum notes as such, but fluffs and clunks. But sometimes when you listen to the whole thing, that's the one that needs to go up. So it was take 5. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll catch you on the next vid. Bye for now.